Hi everybody, I'm Otto. I'm also working at Pinwheel. We launched a big redesign of our site on Wednesday. It's basically a big one-page JS app. Written in Backbone. So we're still running in private beta, but if
you're giving out invitation codes to anybody here who wants one?
Yeah. So if anybody wants them, come talk to me. This is basically our architecture is that we have a Rails front-end app which basically just spits out the compiled assets. We use it mainly for the asset pipeline, so all our CSS is written in SCSS and all our JS with CoffeeScript. This is the site. It's actually a little bit small. Basically, Pinwheel lets you annotate the world, so you can leave notes on the map. They can be left public, they can be left for specific people. You can follow different people, different sets they create. So all kinds of ways to organize the stuff.
Are there notes around here?
Yeah.
The big map's not so big on the screen.
Oh.
Yeah. There are some. There are some interesting things with like the architecture of this like whole. We basically like rewrote the whole JS app. So we had some like we have been running a Backbone.js app before, had some experience from that, and then Donald, our front-end engineer, just wrote the whole thing almost from ground up again. It's pretty awesome. First is the models. We use, when we fetch data from the server, we actually use a lot of like nested data. So you fetch one node, you get an embedded user, you get embedded tags, embedded sets. So our models are actually like context aware. So when they get data from the server, they parse it, and actually you can tell that this named field is actually this kind of collection, or a field of this name is this kind of model. So it automatically parses and creates like nested sets and models based on the like hierarchies we create. I think that'd be.
You want to show that code?
Yeah.
Do you guys enforce consistency, like if two models refer to the same collection, do they end up being the same object, or are they?
Usually we just fetch like data from the server, and we don't cache it.
Got it. So there's no
on the client side, so it's always what the server gives us. So if we had like same user several times on the same page on like different models, it's really different, two different models.
Got it. And
because of the like structure of the data, we actually have a lot of different kinds of representations. Sometimes we only fetch the ID and the name. Sometimes we fetch also the like following info, Like, am I following this user? Is this user following me? So it also changes so that we don't need to output everything like all the time. This is our model. We have the relations property. So we check that if the data we're parsing actually contains those keys defined in the relations. We instantiate those kinds of models and do that same thing for them. So when we fetch data, we get a user model with a node collection inside of it, and inside of that node collection we have node models. Inside those we have sets it belongs to. So it's pretty convenient and automated. There's also some optimizations. Also, our models are usually aware of what's their parent. So if you put add a model into a collection, the model actually knows what collection it is in. So they can also change information and trigger different events. Our views also use our views also are pretty automated. So when you give a model to a view, it automatically either fetches it or instantiates like decides, okay, this model doesn't have an ID, so this is probably a new model we're starting to edit. They take their template, they render automatically based on the name of the view. After they've been created, they fetch the model. Oh, we also use jQuery's deferred object pretty much. It's a wonderful thing if you are not, if you don't know it yet, take a look at it. It's great. But yeah, we fetch the model. When the model finishes, we automatically bind the views update function to the change event, so the view automatically refreshes itself when the model changes. Then we call render all, which basically takes exports the model as JS object, and then takes the template that is bound to the object and renders to the element of the view. If you don't need to do anything special, you usually, like in a simple case, you only have to define the name of the view and give it a model when you instantiate it or create it, and it'll actually render nicely with a model that's fetched from the server, and that's it. One other thing is the router. Backbone has the router, but it doesn't actually do automatically that much. So we have a special class for every link on the HTML that gets handled by the router. So we just create links to the paths we want to and give them the correct class. And The router listens to those events, those click link events on the document itself, and catches them and triggers the navigate event on the page. So you don't have to set up like anything special, and like all that, we just use push state when it's available. No, that's probably all that interesting pieces. Also, one nasty thing about Backbone, especially when you're working with external libraries, is we're using pretty heavily Google Maps, etc. Basic paradigm with Backbone is that usually you render the view into a detached element and then attach it to the DOM tree. But that usually doesn't play nicely with external libraries, because they usually do something crazy that actually needs the elements to be attached to DOM. So it's easy to shoot yourself in the foot trying to use those and debug for long times without any sensible way of knowing what's going wrong. So if you're working with external libraries, first always attach everything to the DOM, and then only edit those plugins. But yeah.
Well, super cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Otto.